Alright, so Monday's aim. I gave you law of cosines, so other ways that we could have done this, we could have spent today deriving law of cosines and showing you why it works the way that it does. I think that it's a little bit more useful for you guys to see law of cosines and then know when to use it. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But law of cosines allows you to solve a triangle as long as you know either of the following. So in this case, you'd want side, 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 or you would want side, angle, side. So remember law of sines. Let's review at the top of our paper. Law of sines can be used when you have one of three things. Give me one of them. Angle, side, angle. What else? Kind of like angle, side, angle, but rearranged. Nope. What? Side, side, angle. Yep. And the last one? Angle, angle, side. And remember, it has to be an oblique triangle. It's not a right triangle. If you try to use law of sines with a right triangle, it is successful, but it takes you way longer than just using SOHCAHTOA. So oblique triangles, angle, side, angle, side, side, angle, and angle, angle, side for law of sines. If you have side, 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 that's an indicator to use law of cosines. And then if you have side, angle, side, that's an indicator to use law of cosines. And between those two and these three, we have all five of our we use them for triangle congruence theorems, but here it's just information given to you about a triangle. So we'll get to law of cosines in a minute. We'll get to all that craziness in a minute. So number 1 and 2, describe why we must use law of cosines to find the missing side of the triangle, then find the missing side. So number 1, let's go ahead and label this triangle. Let's label its corners, capital A, capital B, capital C. It's going to be helpful if you label it the way that I did. And then across from angle big A is going to be side little a, and that's 13. Opposite of big C is going to be side little c, and that's 12. And then opposite of big B is going to be little b for that side. And that would be the side that we're trying to find. What is 13? Yes, what kind of thing is it? A side. What about 70? An angle. And 12? Side. So side, angle, side tells you to use law of cosines. I usually use a capital L, lowercase o, and then capital C, law of cosines. I'm okay on those problems. It's like, tell me the best method and then solve. I'm okay if you shorthand it to LOC or LOS. I would hope that you would know what that means if you wrote it down. All right, so if we're trying to find we're trying to find little b, we're going to start with little b. So let's write little b. The first part to law of cosines works exactly like Pythagorean theorem. You just change the letters around depending on which one you need. So for little b, we're going to go little b squared equals, and then what would be the rest of Pythagorean theorem if we rearranged it? A squared plus what? C squared. Good. That's the first part to law of cosines. And it's like, okay, Miss B, that doesn't make sense because it's not a right triangle. There's more. Whichever two sides you just used, so we just used A and C, you're going to subtract 2 times those two sides, A and C. So A squared plus C squared equals, or A squared plus C squared minus 2AC. It's just the two sides you just used. And then times is called law of cosines for a reason. There's going to be a cosine here. And whatever side you're trying to find, so whatever side you started your equation with, is the angle you're going to put inside cosine. So if we started it with little b, then big B goes inside cosine. So the first part is Pythagorean theorem, just rearranged, minus 2 of the sides you just wrote down, and then times cosine of the angle opposite of the side that you started with. So if you started with little b, cosine is of big B. And then let's plug some numbers in. We don't know b. That's the one we're trying to find, so b squared equals. And then a is 13 squared plus c is 12 squared minus 2 times a is 13 times c is 12, and that's still being multiplied by cosine of what is angle b? 70. Notice after the equal sign, I know everything there. You should only have one unknown in your equation, and in this case, that would be little b. Sometimes you're going to have it looking a little weird, and we'll talk about that throughout the week, but no, you should only have one unknown in your equation when you're done plugging stuff in. And then I'm going to bring up my calculator to type this in. Because you have cosine of 70 degrees, you'll never have to find cosine of 70 degrees on your own. And so that's why I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator for this part. So the question was, how do I put b squared in my calculator first? You don't. So I'm equal to, after my equal sign is nothing but numbers. That's what I'm going to type in. And so I'm going to split my screen so you can see it. There it is. So I'm going to type in everything after the equal sign. So 13 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 13 times 12, and then times cosine of 70. Oh man, what should I fix? Really quickly before I press enter. Yeah, I'm in radians, so I'm going to have to switch it to degrees first. And then I can press enter. So now I know that my b squared is equal to 206.290. Because that 89 is going to round up because of that 7. Yeah. Say yes if you're with me. Great. I got like 5. That's a good sign. Hey, how do I solve for b? Square root both sides. My calculator can also do that. So I'm going to use my answer so that I'm as accurate as possible. So I'm going to go second square root and then second negative sign to use my answer and then enter. So b is 14.363. Are there units in the picture or no? No? Okay. This is a little introduction to law of cosines. Now remember, you may not see this on your homework tonight. You may see it maybe tomorrow night or Wednesday night. You probably will not see it on tonight's homework, but it's just kind of like a little, that's probably the easiest law of cosines question you'll see. And so it's just kind of like a little warm up of what is law of cosines, how do we use it? Number 2, what is 18? Aside. What is 17? Side. What is 30? Aside. And that tells me to use law of cosines. Except my directions said find the missing side, and we know all the sides. So we can do one of two things. We can find an angle measurement, which is going to be a little bit different than number 1, or we can go to number 3. You think so? Okay, let's take a vote. So the only upside to seeing an angle measurement is that it's a little bit different than number 1, and so you'll get to see both kinds of law of cosines questions today, and then we'll keep practicing all week. Or we can just go to number 3 and then maybe do that kind of question tomorrow. So let's take a vote. The vote will be between people who want to do number 2 with an angle and people who just want to go to number 3. Are you ready? People who want to do number 2 with an angle. Yeah, I didn't think so. And then people who want to move on to number 3. Okay, cool. Pretty much unanimous. I messed up there, so we'll go to number 3. If you'd like to see how to find an angle measurement with law of cosines, we can talk about it later. Or we'll be practicing it this week for sure. Number 3, a bird watcher is 5 feet tall. A bird watcher is a person, so a person is 5 feet tall. 5 feet. If you're not drawing little pictures for these problems, you're messing it up. So make sure to draw your little pictures, even though it sounds silly. Make sure to draw your pictures. 5 feet tall and is looking at an owl sitting in the top of a tree. Okay, so I got a tree. And they're looking at the top of that tree. Okay. And it says top of a tree 8 feet away. And so this distance is 8 feet. And we're going to assume that the tree makes a right angle with the ground. If the angle of elevation to the owl is 68 degrees, how tall is the tree? And so we're going to be finding how tall the tree is. So I'm going to put an X there. My angle of elevation has to be from a horizontal line upward. Where is the angle of elevation originating? What part of my picture? The person's head, because it's where their eyeballs are, right? So it's not from the feet, it's actually from their line of sight, and so there's a horizontal line here, and your angle goes inside here of 68 degrees. I'm actually going to have to find this part first, then I can find the height of the tree. All right, cool. That horizontal dashed line, how long is that line? 8 feet. And so now I can use what method? Right triangle trig. So if I'm using right triangle trig, I want to put, well, my person's already at 68. 8 would be what? Adjacent, good. And then I would be finding my opposite side over here. I'll label it over here. And what uses opposite and adjacent? Close. Tangent. So tangent of my angle measurement is 68 equals my opposite side. I don't have my opposite side. I don't really like to use O. I guess I'll use op for opposite side. Over 8 feet, which is my adjacent side. And how do I solve that for my opposite side? Multiply by 8. Good. So I've got 8 times tangent of 68. What do you get from 8 times tangent of 68? What is it? 19 even? 800. Okay, good. And that equals my opposite side?
It would be 19.801.
801, okay. Cool. That's my opposite side. How do I find the height of the tree? Add 5 feet for what? The height of the person, the bird watcher. And so that's actually 5.0 if you need that. So I'm going to add it to the 19. The 0.801 is going to stay. 19 plus 5 is 24. And what are my units? Feet. Good. So the tree is 24.801 feet tall. Notice we had this on Ames 2 weeks ago, right? And then we practiced it last week on homework and with those board work problems. And then now it's showing up again as kind of like a review part of the Ames. So where else could you expect to see these problems? Probably on your test. Your test Friday will be a long test. It's going to be one of those all multiple choice tests. Make sure to be here Friday. I do not want to have to give you that long multiple choice test after a weekend. So be here Friday. That's going to be your long multiple choice test. It'll be all of class. And then on Monday, we're going to be doing probably capture the flag, I'm pretty sure. Capture the flag is sort of like a review. Tuesday, you're going to be rewarded for coming to school the Tuesday before Thanksgiving because some people like to take their breaks early. You're going to be rewarded for coming to geometry next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're going to have an activity where you work with a partner, and the result of that is going to be a score that counts similar to kind of how your Math Excel scores count, except it's going to be an in-class practice with a partner, okay? It's not going to be a Math Excel. It's going to be an activity. Questions about this week or Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, you go on break. Yeah.